Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Raftery. I'm a director with Projects RH based in Sydney, Australia. On October 6th, our Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, presented a truly reforming budget. The Australian economy had gone into a technical recession based on two quarters of negative growth. This had been followed by COVID-19, which, whilst production levels across the agricultural and mineral export sectors had not declined, in general, the revenue had declined, the notable exception having been iron ore. But the other major commodities we export are beef, oil, gas, coal. Their prices all had fallen. What we've seen is a significant investment in the Australian economy. And there is an expectation that the Australian economy will remain relatively closed until at least July 2021. This means there will not be significant inflows of foreign students. Generally around Australia, foreign students make up 2% of the population. And so their numbers are going to be noticed in not being there to do consumption. What we're also seeing is that Australia's migration is becoming essential. What we have is a population which is reducing, not just due to natural factors of an affluent society, but more importantly from people leaving. So the people leaving are not being replaced by the people coming. The expectation is, however, that we will continue to have a migration of 160,000 per annum. This will be difficult to achieve in 2021, but the plan is still there. We expect most of that migration will be made up from people who are currently here. Students being invited to stay, businessmen being invited to take up other opportunities, and those working in certain industries being asked to stay and continue to work. The budget was exciting. It really was for all people, in the fact that there were key economic changes. Some were subtle, some were blatant. Job creation, it was empowered. There's money for apprenticeships. There's money for job subsidies for people under 35 and even more if you're under 30. There are apprenticeship money. So the government is prepared to subsidise 50,000 apprentices for 50% of their wages. We are trying to create a skilled society. And I think that's the recurrent theme amongst the big spend in the Australian budget. There is money for all key technical services. And the idea is Australia will be a value-added economy, replacing many imports with its own production. And the aim is to have that production focused on high-end value. What we saw was significant commitment, though, to people coming to Australia. Migration is seen as a key part of the economic success story of Australia. So really nothing has changed since 1788. And since that time, Australia has been a land of importing people and importing capital. So we continue down both tracks. The budget's aim is to create 950,000 jobs, nearly 1 million jobs. But they need to get 160,000 people in. What we find particularly exciting is the increase in investment migration from 5,000 to 14,500. Significant numbers focused on people who will create those jobs for the future. To assist them in creating those jobs, there are considerable tax incentives. These incentives include reduction on payroll. So the tax we all pay on our salaries has gone down. This will give people earning less than $200,000 at least $2,000 additional to spend each year. Whilst at the higher levels it's not significant, in the mid-levels, this money will be spent. It will go on consumables. What we've also seen is partner visas and business visas for specialists increase in numbers. We are now seeing also a focus, though, for migrants that they must speak English and preferably have tertiary education. And let's be frank, it's not going to hurt if they got that tertiary education in Australia. Nevertheless, people are needing to speak English or show a commitment to speaking English. For those wanting to establish a new business in Australia, there is money available through grants, through research development opportunities, but more importantly, the investment sector is looking for opportunities to invest. With interest rates being paid at 0.25%, very few people want to invest their money in the bank. Borrowing for the Australian government is now around 1%, and for individuals between 4 and 6%. There's considerable incentive to go and do something, to take the opportunities of the instant cash write-off. So what does that mean? An instant cash write-off means that if you go and buy something, you can get a tax deduction for what you purchased. Now, traditionally, if you bought a 5-year asset, you had to write it off 20% per annum over 5 years. Today, you want a printing press, you spend $1 million, you get $1 million tax deduction. Increasingly, that's valuable because it means money in the bottom line. It means companies can show that they are achieving things. Lots of projects are being funded now by the Commonwealth Government too. And whilst major roads, rail, port, power infrastructure plus gas for the big end of town, each of those will generate lots of multiple jobs. So for every job that's directly created, it is said that there are 4 to 5 more jobs created indirectly. So if you employ an additional person building roads, you need more school teachers, you need more shops, you need more housing, you need all sorts of things to support that person in the field. And the people who support them in the field also need support. So it's called the multiplier effect. What we've seen, though, is substantial investment being allocated to help businesses get across the line. So whilst 7.5 billion has been allocated to infrastructure, 5 billion was allocated to employee apprentices. 4.5 billion has been allocated to improve the internet. 2 billion more has been allocated through tax concessions for research and development. So not only do you get the normal write-off of I spend $1 and I get my 30 cents back from the government, you get an extra 18.5 cents back because you spent the money on research and development. There's $1.3 billion for advanced manufacturing and $1 billion for university research, which we can all tap into. What it is, it's really exciting. There is an environment that's encouraging people to take risk. What's encouraging is people to come and invest in Australia and enjoy the quality life we have. In the next 12 months, we can frankly see that the people who are here will have the first opportunity. But there is also a gifted, independent, talented person program, which says if you're really good at what you do and you can get suitable references, that you will create a valuable job in Australia, that you can get instant migration. So the government is trying to get all the ducks in a row so that we can grow the economy back as we have. Australia has not been as adversely impacted upon by COVID-19 as many countries. What we have been impacted upon has been the way we protected the domestic economy and people from the ravages of the virus by locking the country down. Australia has wonderful quarantine and protection for its wildlife, but more importantly, in a commercial sense, for its agriculture. This has enabled Australia to continue to export high quality food, despite COVID, to a world that needs it. So Australia, for example, produces 3.5 times the amount of food we consume. So basically, we're able to export 70% of our food production. All this has continued, and the government is very keen for it to continue. What they're wanting to do is to direct people into what's called STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Consistent with this, the university fee program has seen people studying STEM subjects receiving substantial discounts on their university fees, and those who do not having to pay more. What we have is a whole environment being dedicated to reforming the private sector so the private sector can rebuild Australia. What we're seeing is the opportunity for you to come to Australia and build a new business which will create and add value and give you a quality of life in Australia, which is very hard to beat elsewhere in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Australia's door is open to many people. You should explore the opportunities. If you're looking for investment opportunities, please do contact Projects RH, and we're based in Sydney, and you can find our details on the internet. It's been a wonderful opportunity to tell you tonight how great things are in Australia, and that we look forward to seeing you joining us and enjoying the sunlight. Welcome to the opportunity. Good night.